We're just emailing. We've just invented, it's all invented. And so I think about that a lot. I'm like, if my granddad was in a dark mine and still lived a life of joy and play and humour, who am I to think my job is too stressful? What does 90-year-old me want me to do about this? We are allowed to be ourselves and we're allowed to express ourselves. You know, when we approach the end of our life, which we all will, you know, some sooner than others, like when we approach the end of our life, we're not going to be thinking about that project. We're not going to be thinking about our deadlines.
Today's guest is Kirsty Hulse, speaker, entrepreneur, best-selling author, and one of the most refreshing voices on confidence, leadership, and the future of work. But the conversation isn't just about building a successful business. It's about building a successful life. In this episode, we explore what success really means, why clarity comes through action rather than perfect planning, and why sometimes the bravest thing you can do is to walk away. By the end of this conversation, I think you'll see success and perhaps your own career in a completely different light. And if this conversation resonates with you, don't miss episode 2, where we move from Kirsty's story to the practical ideas that have helped thousands of people become more confident, influential, and authentic leaders. So enjoy.
Thank you for having me.
So before we start, I wanted to ask you a couple of questions. How would your closest friends describe you in a couple of words?
Depends which friends you ask. I think all of my friends would describe me as quite open-minded. Mm-hmm. So quite open-minded, quite positive, and they would probably describe me as upbeat.
Wow, tell me more about that.
Well, I think I'm increasingly, and especially more and more and more as I get older, I'm so like positive and I'm so invested in my own joy, and I try so hard to like manage my state so that I can feel good, and I kind of live my life like that actually. Like I live my life knowing that you know, circumstances are our circumstances and how we meet them is a choice. So I'm always trying to make sure I'm just like a positive, happy person to be around. And I think as I get older, I'm doing it more and more and more.
Yeah, definitely. And I can confirm that. We met last year. You were doing a workshop for a company I used to work at, and your energy was contagious. Like I felt so energized afterwards.
Oh, and, that's nice.
I follow you on LinkedIn especially, and whenever I read your posts, it comes to my mind a funny expression that we say in Italian, and that's non avere peli sulla lingua, and that means not having hairs on one's mouth. And it means that someone says things as they are, and some of your posts are just like saying the things as they are, but sometimes people just like maybe they don't want to say it, or a lot of people think it, but they don't say it.
Thank you for saying that. I think we're so censored, especially when we enter the work environment. We internalize that there's all of these ways that we should be, and we need to be professional in order to be taken seriously. And that's just never felt true for me. I think I always knew that as long as we're being kind and considerate of different cultures and different opinions, we are allowed to be ourselves and we're allowed to express ourselves. And all humans want to play, and we want joy, and we want to have a laugh. And I think when you can just kind of come back to that and remember that and let go of some of this like stuffy like professionalism, I think then like workplaces get better, humans get happier. So I always try and live and breathe that. So I'm glad it's coming through on my LinkedIn and I don't have hairs on my mouth.
Definitely. I think one of my favorite one I read was, we need to stop talking about work as we're performing open heart surgery. And we are emailing. We're just emailing.
It's not that deep. It's really not that deep. And our work is valuable, but it's not important in the sense we think it is. You know, when we approach the end of our life, which we all will, some sooner than others. Like when we approach the end of our life, we're not going to be thinking about that project. We're not going to be thinking about our deadlines. And I try and remember that. And I always, when I have those moments of stress, because I do, of course, I'm always like, what does 90-year-old me want me to do about this? Like, how does she want me to respond? And it's just this constant reminder that, we need to put effort into things. We need to care about our work, and we need to have integrity about the things that we're doing, but never to the point where we're damaging ourselves and we're forgetting that we're just emailing. We've just invented, it's all invented, and we're in these buildings emailing each other. Like, it's really absurd. One of the things I do is, we're taking a break this year, but I organize a big conference called Confidence Live, and we have hundreds and hundreds of people that come. And whenever I'm like in the middle of organizing it, the celebrities and risk assessments and food and, imagine planning a wedding, but then making it way more people and you get paid for it. Like and people would often say like, oh, you must be so stressed. And I would say you can genuinely distill actually organizing that conference to sending 6 emails. Like you can strip it right back to, you book a venue, you book a caterer, you book some speakers, off you go. And I think we can, pull things back to, I think we just forget sometimes, humans are negative. We have a negativity bias. And I think we sometimes, myself included, get kind of stuck in this false sense of urgency or this like false sense of importance. And it's so easy to forget what truly, truly matters in life. And for me, at least, and we're all different and we have different expressions, but for me, nothing is more important than my joy. Nothing.
Yeah, that's also as it should be. When did you realize that actually, like there's a balance? It should be a balance between, like being professional, but also not being mediocre at one's job.
I think I was fortunate. So I was raised in a family of rebels, I think. And I think about my granddad, and he was born in 1920. And he was a miner. So he worked in the mines when he was 12. So, and it was the Second World War. So he had to mine for coal. And he was a child, basically. And he would go into this mine shaft in the pitch black all day. He did it his entire life. And he was one of the most like silly, playful, joyful. And so I think about that a lot. I'm like, if my granddad was in a dark mine and still lived a life of joy and play and humor, who am I to think my job is too stressful? Like, who am I to be like, oh no? So I think it was role modeled to me, actually, that the good thing in life is laughing at yourself and laughing at each other. And my nan, my granddad's husband, used to say that laughter is the smallest distance between two people. So I think I was raised to be unserious, and I was very fortunate to have that. I don't think many people get that. I think a lot of people, and everyone here has my hand of compassion. If you were raised to get a good job and, not let the family down, which a lot of people are, that's a different kind of pressure. I had my own troubles in life, we all do, but mine was never from a place of pressure to perform. I was always given freedom and opportunity to play. And I just never, I think most people grow up. I just never did.
Isn't Peter Pan, no? It's the eternal child.
Yeah. Pippa Pan.
If you consider your whole life, in which season of your life are you now?
Oh, nice. I like to think, or I'm trying, I've worked a lot over the past 15 years. I have been consistent. I've showed up on social media like basically every day for 15 years. I've never quit. I've been working for myself for over a decade, and I've put a lot of, I've built a lot of trust with people. I give my time freely. If someone says come on my podcast, I will. I try and be generous with my skill set, and I try and contribute. And I've been doing that for such a long time. And what I'm trying to do at the moment is be in a season of my life where I can almost like reap the rewards of that and feel like I have built And now perhaps I don't need to try as hard. You know, the clients will come, the money will come. I've spent a long time starting something. And I think in our careers, at least, we have to, when we first begin, we kind of have to say yes to everything. We have to say yes to all the opportunities. And then at some point, we can start saying no. And I'm at that point where I can start saying no. Now, that's a tricky transition. But I think that's the chapter I'm in at the moment, that I can trust the like effort and goodwill that I've built over so many years, and I can allow myself to lean back. So I would like to think that I'm in a chapter of peace, but you never know what life is going to throw at you. I think a lot of people think they need to have it all figured out and then they'll take action. Whereas I'm like you, I have to experiment and try things. And, you know, as much as on paper I've been successful, I've had an equal amount of failures. I've had an equal amount of missteps and bad starts and things that didn't work out, because I have always tried things. And I've always known that for me, I don't understand myself or get clarity from like mentally in my head planning. I get that clarity through action, and only through action and trying things and testing things can I know. And then that creates something else. Oprah, I was listening to a podcast. I just, you know, I'm the kind of person that quotes Oprah, but I was listening to a podcast, and Oprah said she never had a 5-year plan. She just made sure she responded powerfully to every moment. And I really liked that.
Yeah. Also, because I think now, like 5-year plan, it's like it's risky
Yeah,
because you never know like how next year is gonna look like.
so
So
true. We'll all be like, I don't know, with our robot overlords in 5 years.
yeah, it can be like everything can be, you know, like right now it's really impossible to say anything. So
Impossible, yeah.
if I look at what you've achieved, you're a book author. You wrote 2 books. The latest one, it's called "Don't Swear at Work" and other stuff. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, so but I will post it in the description. You are a founder, and you give global keynote speeches around the world, and you work with huge companies, LinkedIn, Amazon, Spotify. You said you had many failures in your life. How did you start it to be here today?
Yeah, my career, I started in marketing, and I didn't have like career ambitions or goals. Or like I said earlier, I wasn't raised to be like, you're going to go to university and then you'll work in finance. That wasn't my upbringing at all. So I never knew what I wanted to do. I didn't have plans, and I was so lucky. And a lot of what I have achieved is through hard work, and a lot of it is through luck. Both can be true. And I was so lucky that my career started in 2009. And there was a misfortune there because there was a big recession. There weren't many jobs. But the internet was just starting to really erupt as something people were thinking about for their businesses. So I ended up working in digital marketing. Um, and it took me actually a while. My first ever job was in door-to-door sales, knocking on doors, selling things for commission only. I earned nothing. It was awful. And then I was like, okay, the internet's a thing. So I started a blog, and I thought, if I have this blog and I teach myself digital marketing, I can maybe get a job in it. Applied for dozens and dozens and dozens of jobs, didn't get any of them. One company hired me, they gave me a chance, which I will never not be grateful for. So I started working in marketing, and I was working in search, I was working in SEO. And so I just, my career accelerated because my industry was accelerating. You know, it's hard to fail in an industry that's just like really growing and growing and growing and growing. And so I was also really good with people, because I've always been very authentic. And then I started my own agency in 2015. So I was probably about 5 or 6 years into my career. Our first ever client was Virgin Atlantic. Yeah, so again, we just started, and we just started with big businesses, and that was a lesson in fake it till you make it. I truly had no idea what I was doing, but we ended up doing an okay job, and I built that agency for a few years. And again, we had some big clients. I had a really amazing team that I loved working with, and it was growing faster and faster and faster. And I was actually speaking on a podcast last week, and the interviewer said, it seemed like you stopped that agency at its absolute height. And I was like, I really did, because I was losing myself. I was, all of this like joy and play, like that was going. I was feeling heavy. I was stressed. My entire body got covered in a rash that I didn't know what it was at the time, but it was stress. I found myself in hospital because I was having severe chest pains. I thought it was palpitations. It wasn't. It was panic attacks. And around this time, I always knew that life was more important than work. And so I just closed the business. I closed it. I was too young to be experiencing that. And I knew that. And everyone, everyone was like, just give it a couple more years, give it a couple more years. And I was like, no, I've been in hospital. I'm 27. I'm not giving it a couple more years. And I just walked away from it. I didn't make any money from it. There was no big, glorious business success exit. And people always say starting a business is brave, but I promise you ending one is braver. Like a successful, profitable business. And so that's kind of where my career started. And then I transitioned into the work I do now, which is trying to figure out why experiences like mine are so common, why humans in workplaces struggle to be themselves, to feel confident, to connect, to enjoy it, to have like meaningful experiences. And that was 2019, and I've been doing that ever since.
What made you switch actually to be an entrepreneur?
I didn't mean to. I was gonna say, oh, I'm going to be an entrepreneur.
Oopsie.
Oopsie. So I was working in search, and it was at the time when the industry was changing and shifting, and Google was changing its algorithm all the time, and people were struggling to keep up. And so the agency landscape was not great. Because obviously I'd started my career when the internet was still a kind of weird spammy place. And then obviously Google was like, let's prioritize quality. But a lot of people creating marketing campaigns hadn't yet caught up. And a friend of mine who worked at Virgin Atlantic was like, oh, what agency should we use? And I was like, honestly, I don't know.
I'm gonna build one.
Yeah, well, it wasn't even me. I was like, I actually don't know. He's called Ian. He's called Ian Roberts, and like I owe my life to him. But Ian was like, so what agency should I use? And I said, Ian, honestly, not that many are great at the moment. And he said, well, why don't you start one and you can come in and pitch? And it was only ever a pitch. I was only invited to pitch. But my toxic trait, Larissa, is if someone like offers me something, I just say yes. And I remember getting this message, and he was like, you should start an agency. And I had this kind of like sinking feeling, because I was like, oh, I'm gonna have to do that now. I'm actually gonna have to do that. And then I went into pitch for the business, and it was, again, that was crazy. It was just me. I didn't have a team at the time, but I got fortunate in that obviously Virgin Atlantic, they're a British dynamic business that likes the underdog and celebrates innovation and celebrates entrepreneurship. And so they, with very defined terms, the team they gave us a shot, which we were really fortunate to have. And again, that's because the team at Virgin were brave. And they liked that. I think they liked that it was new and exciting and innovating. And so I'm starting this business, and I've got to figure out, when you'll know this, working in big corporates, like there are rules and there are systems and there are certain things you have to have, which actually was great, because the procurement team, the team who like buys services at Virgin, sent a spreadsheet, and it was just everything that a business needs in order to be corporate. But that was phenomenally difficult. I cried like every day. Like the imposter syndrome was wild, and I was not ready. I was so far from being ready. And that not readiness meant the business never, succeeded in a way that a lot of people have seen it as success. But for me, it was a stepping stone to what I should be doing, which is what I'm doing. But I've never planned to do stuff. I've just, as something presents itself, I've always walked through the door. The only thing I've ever actively, consciously chosen is being visible. And I've let the rest follow. I've just been phenomenally visible and met people and understood that careers come through people. And I chose the visibility, I built the visibility, and then I followed what came from there.
Yeah. But I think like a lot of doors open to you just because you are so open, saying yes, as you said before. And sometimes it brings you to accept a podcast interview or to build a company, apparently. I think everything it's a learning. So
Everything.
everything, definitely. And you said before that closing a company, it's more difficult than starting one. It takes a lot of courage to actually close a company, even if it's going really well. And
Thank you.
did you consider that at any point to be a failure, or it was just like a learning?
Yes, my ego took a hit for sure.
Mm-hmm.
And it took me a while, I would say even until like very recently, because my first business was like real in the sense that I had a team and there was clients and there was lots of collaboration. The business I run now, I'm a consultant, it's me. And so for a long time, my ego struggled with that and struggled with moving from running a business that felt very, felt very like legitimate. I can't think of a better word, to moving into a like consultancy role where it's just me. It really felt not as impressive. It felt not as exciting, even though I loved it so much more and it suited me so much more and it was so much more what I should be doing. It took me ages, years, honestly, years to let go of this idea that like having a big team is like the best way to be a business owner and that I'd only be taken seriously if I had a big team and a big exit. Years. That took me years. So I don't think I ever like consciously saw of it as a failure, but my ego definitely missed the big numbers, the big revenue, and the like being the boss. My ego missed that for sure.
What gave you the strength to start over again?
I'm sorry to interrupt the conversation here, but don't worry, we're not done yet. We'll continue next week. That said, as always, I'm not leaving empty-handed from this conversation. What stayed with me the most wasn't just her success, it was the way she defines it. The image of her grandfather spending his childhood in a coal mine and still choosing joy, it's something I don't think I'll forget anytime soon. And neither is her decision to walk away from a business that many people would have considered a dream. It reminded me that success isn't about holding on at all costs, it's about having the courage to build a life that still feels like yours. I also loved one simple idea that kept coming up throughout our conversation. Clarity doesn't come before action, it comes because of action. Sometimes the only way to discover what's right for us is to take the first step, learn from it, and keep moving forward. And if you enjoyed Kirsty's stories, I really hope you'll join me for the next episode. Because while today was about how she built and rebuilt her career, next time we will explore how those experiences shape the way she helps thousands of people become more confident communicators and authentic leaders. It's one of my favorite parts of the conversation, and I can't wait to share it with you. So I'll see you there.